Social media frequently treats narcissism as a synonym for vanity. In a clinical context, the disorder functions as a predatory emptiness, a catastrophic internal void that must consume the psychological resources of others just to sustain itself. This pathology operates on a spectrum. The grandiose narcissist uses overt arrogance and social dominance to demand attention, while the vulnerable narcissist masks their sense of superiority behind a facade of social anxiety or constant victimhood. Both types share a deep, unshakable sense of entitlement. This chart illustrates the grandiosity gap. On the left is the narcissist's perceived potential, on the right, their actual output. They operate under the delusion that having an idea for a project is identical to completing it. Because they equate potential with success, they view the actual effort required as a personal insult. To bridge this gap, they construct a false self. This glowing shell acts as a vital buffer against narcissistic collapse, a state of total psychological breakdown that occurs if reality ever pierces their defenses. To pull others into this fantasy, they use future faking. They sell detailed, emotionally intoxicating promises about the future to extract tangible resources and absolute commitment in the present. They lack the discipline or the actual intention to ever fulfill these obligations. The victim believes they have found a soulmate. In reality, they have been cast as a supporting character, required only to provide the energy needed to keep the narcissist's survival fantasy alive. The relationship eventually shifts from the intense attention of love bombing into the devaluation phase. The narcissist begins to introduce subtle criticisms, comparisons to others, and periods of sudden emotional withdrawal. This behavior often traces back to the dead mother complex. It describes a period in early childhood where a primary caregiver becomes emotionally unavailable due to depression or trauma. Though the mother is physically present, her psychic absence leaves the child to build a personality around a foundational sense of loss and internal coldness. The adult narcissist lives in a constant flight from this internal deadness. They require massive infusions of external stimuli, intense conflict, power, or adoration to feel alive. But because the core is hollow, these stimuli dissipate instantly, resulting in chronic boredom and a perpetual need for more. This hunger drives two distinct forms of deception. Instrumental lying is a calculated tactic used to gain money or status. Ego-protective lying is a far more disorienting psychological mechanism used to maintain their self-image. When confronted with their own abusive behavior, the narcissist engages in confabulation. The brain literally overwrites the memory of the event to align with their image as a flawless person. When they claim an event never happened, they often subjectively believe the lie because the data has been deleted to prevent ego collapse. Attempting to argue facts with an abuser is entirely futile. You are fighting a defense mechanism that is programmed to automatically erase any evidence of their own imperfection. To control the victim's narrative, they use gaslighting. This is a systematic form of psychological violence designed to erode your trust in your own memory and sanity through persistent denial and the trivialization of your feelings. The abuser further isolates the target by recruiting flying monkeys. These are third parties, often well-meaning friends or family, who are manipulated into believing the narcissist's victim story. They are used to spy on you, induce guilt, and run public smear campaigns that leave you with no support system. The narcissist views social interaction as a competition for status. Because they believe that your gain is their direct loss, your pain and failure provide them with schadenfreude, a deep psychological relief that confirms their own superiority. The relationship becomes a cycle of unpredictable cruelty followed by sudden affection. This whiplash creates a state of intermittent reinforcement that has a devastating effect on the human nervous system. This chart tracks the biochemical result of that cycle. The massive dopamine spikes of the idealization phase, followed by the chemical crashes of devaluation, hijack the brain. You become physically addicted to the moments of relief that follow periods of terror. This is a trauma bond. Leaving the relationship is not just a matter of making a logical choice. It requires breaking a severe physiological addiction to a captor. Directly challenging the narcissist's fabricated reality will trigger narcissistic rage. This is a primitive, explosive reaction intended to dismantle anyone who punctures their illusion. To protect yourself, you must adopt the gray rock method. You become completely emotionally uninteresting, responding only with short, monotonous, factual phrases. By removing your reactions, you starve the narcissist of the supply they need to regulate their ego. Expect an extinction burst. As you pull away, the abuser will temporarily escalate their provocations to force you back into your usual emotional responses. Survival depends on remaining indifferent during this escalation. Neutralize their manipulation by following the JADE protocol. You never justify, argue, defend, or explain your actions. Any explanation you offer is viewed as an invitation to debate your right to have boundaries. If you are forced to communicate, use the BIF method. Ensure every text or email is brief, informative, friendly, and firm. Stick to the logistics and offer no emotional hooks for them to grab onto. These tactics are not meant to change the abuser. They are defensive structures designed to prevent them from extracting any more of your emotional energy. Recognizing the mechanics of abuse does not automatically reset the body. Years of sustained stress keep the nervous system in a state of high alert, leaving the survivor to contend with the persistent physical weight of complex PTSD. Recovery requires manual regulation of the nervous system. Techniques like VU sounding, a deep breath followed by a low, vibrating exhale, physically stimulate the vagus nerve. This sends a direct signal to the brain that the immediate threat has passed. Self-havening can be used to lower toxic shame and anxiety. By slowly stroking your shoulders down to your elbows, you trigger an oxytocin release that helps counter the physiological effects of the trauma bond. When an emotional flashback strikes, use 5-4-3-2-1 grounding. By forcing your brain to identify specific sensory details in your current environment, you bring your frontal cortex back online and break the cycle of panic. You achieve victory over a narcissist by making them irrelevant. You do not win by exposing their lies, but by regulating your own body until their entire illusion no longer has the power to affect your reality.